The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. Here's an interesting mail, which I think gets into a deeper topic. We've talked about parts of this on the channel before. It says, "Hey Perch, you've talked about how ultimately the publishers are responsible for their headlines, like how they're the ones who play up LGBT stuff and then get annoyed people fixate on that. My question is, why do publishers rarely actually push the stories in their comics as a selling point? If you made a point of Superman is a gladiator on an alien planet, you only need to sub to action to read it. That's a very easy entry point for both the series and comics, especially had that been played up when the arc began. But instead, everyone was more interested in John being bi. Character is bi isn't an entry point to comics. That's incredibly true. It tells potential readers nothing. Even if they might like Son of Kal-El, even if they heard the plot. Superman Gladiator Space Odyssey is fucking awesome. Yes, it is. Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing a hell of a time on that book. It's going to be a great trade or whatever, however they collect that thing up. So it's got to be more than one standard trade. I hope they just put out I don't think it'll be enough comics for an omnibus, but you could do like a mini omnibus. Anyway, they should do it. It's a great run. I think it's one of those that's going to be remembered kind of years later as an incredible comic. People are liking it who are reading it now, but DC has thoroughly dropped the ball on marketing and promoting it. Meanwhile, like Philip Kennedy Johnson himself is out there promoting it like a crazy person, and good for him. But anyway, that is going to be a run that's remembered kind of many years later, unfortunately, rather than right now. Creators and publishers need to improve their hype game. Describe your story as if you're convincing a kid to go make his mom buy it for him. That's a good angle. That will sell comics. Superman's a gladiator on an alien planet works. The Green Lanterns lose their power and have to figure out who attacked them. Works. Terry McGinnis is part Asian, means absolutely nothing to anyone, especially since it has absolutely nothing to do with the story. Anyway, and people who try selling it on that basis are doing the book a disservice. The annoying thing is how easy that this is so easy. Nothing is stopping them. You're absolutely right. I think, first off, why do they do the, hey, John Kent is bi, Terry McGinnis is half Asian. Why do they run with that? Well, because there is a belief that, Twitter creates lots of conversation, Facebook creates lots of conversation. Therefore, that's who you play to. And that's who these companies continue to play to because it feels like that's where the energy and the momentum is. Clearly, that's not where the sales are. But if you're a kind of lower level marketing, manager or whoever you are, you've got your job in comics, you're on Twitter all the time. Those are your people. That's where you can, run a headline and then quickly go to Twitter to see how it's taking off. And that's all there is. That's all people care about, unfortunately. There's tons of, we all seen the evidence now that suggests that none of that is linked to sales at all. That there's no correlation between, getting a headline like that and actually making progress on the comic. None. So, what does that mean? It means that this is a problem in comics. It means nobody is measuring any of this stuff. There's nobody in comics that's coming around going, hey, let's take a look at the money you spent and what you did with your time and see if it was valuable. Nobody is doing that. It gets back to leadership. The leadership sucks. Somebody should be going in going, all right, we spent a year, making YouTube videos about cooking muffins with Captain Marvel's face on it and, going on Twitter and talking up Pride. Let's see, how'd it go? Did this comic sell well? There's an editor out there, of a DC editor, who has basically talked nonstop about Pride and Connor Hawke, being asexual. It's like, newsflash, a character is going to come out as not having sex. Okay. I mean, why? She has nonstop talked about this, promoting the fact that the creative team is both asexual and autistic, and that was a big plug for the whole thing. What? Who's marketing for that? What a waste of time. Honestly, there are a bunch of people on Twitter like, yeah, oh wow, this is awesome, made my day. I'm definitely going to pick up a copy. except they don't. And like you say, that like why can't they just lead with the story? There are things going on in John Kent's Superboy. The thing going on is like, hey, John Kent is slowly getting into a relationship with somebody he may not be able to trust. Batman thinks he's a spy. He's at war with another country. Now Lex Luthor is after him too. I mean, there's things you could do to hype up. It's actually not that compelling, but anyway, there's things you can do to make it more interesting than, hey, John Kent's spy. That's not a great headline for a comic. It tells you something that's going on with the character, but unless this comic is going to fully stop being a superhero comic and start being fully slice of life, and it's going to just explore, John and his boyfriend going out on dates, which there are comics that do that. I mean, hilariously, there's plenty of manga that sells incredibly well. That is slice of life, gay, queer stories that do great, and that is the story. That is the selling point. That is like, guy has a secret crush on another guy. Will they get together? We'll find out. Like that is the comic, and it sells great. It doesn't. It sells what it is. But the funny thing about all this is, John Kent Superboy is still trying to be a superhero comic on some level. That's the crazy part. Same thing with all of these books. I mean, even the X-Men stuff on Krakoa. I mean, a couple of those books would have to sell themselves as characters talk about their feelings while drinking at a tiki bar. I mean, the Captain America fights the cat snake creatures. It's like Captain America and her bestie wants to go have pancakes, gets interrupted, goes dancing. That's the plot. But you can sell these comics up. I've strayed pretty far from the original point. Talking about what they actually are, which is there are some awesome things in there. Yeah, there's storylines that are incredibly compelling, and yet the publishers do steer away from those storylines in favor of kind of talking points that's going to make people who are largely irrelevant to the buying audience excited. It is aggravating because it is so easy. Superman gladiator in space fights for his life. I mean that is pretty cool. Batman has to travel outside of Gotham to solve a mystery. Not that exciting, but still not bad. That's going to be better than Batman's best friend is bisexual. Okay. What does that what does that tell us? What is that supposed to mean? And to be clear, that doesn't mean you don't do these elements. Still, you can introduce Ghostmaker, and funnily enough, I suspect if you were to go flash forward in time like 10, 15, 20 years, all of the characters that they are now experimenting on to have be gay or bisexual or everything else, my suspicion is the ones that were just created that way from the start, the ones that kind of that was their identity, like Ghostmaker, or before that, years ago, Midnighter, Apollo, Wiccan, Hulkling. I have a feeling in 20 years, those are going to be the characters that are still out there doing well, selling comics. People are more or less happy with. Those are going to be the ones that people are still good with. The other stuff like, hey, look, we got a paraplegic Flash who's pansexual. That's everybody's going to forget about that one. Bobby Drake, people have largely completely forgotten about Bobby Drake, that he even exists as a character. I think it's the new one. But that's just my theory. Look, I think that comics should lean forward to what they have, which is here's the story, here's a pitch. I think comics needs to hire a just reasonable marketing manager, somebody who actually knows how to promote to the audience that's actually going to buy the comics. I part of the reason they do this is because comic publishers believe that they have the superhero audience already. The people are going to buy Superman by saying, "Hey, it's alien gladiator fights in space." They believe that audience is there. They're going to keep buying it, no problem. And what they're hoping to do is, get a new audience, the audience of their friends from outside of work, who were like, I would love to see a gay Superman, so I want to buy that. So we're going to hype that up. But again, we've been trying this for, I don't know, going on close to a decade now. It's not working. None of this stuff is actually, landing in terms of finding that audience. So maybe it's time to switch tactics a little bit. When I say switch tactics, here's a great part. All the comic pros, editors, publishers listening right now. Hey, keep making them gay. Sure, why not? But market the big epic story. Try that. Just try that for a little while. Okay, keep doing all you want with the kind of social stuff, etc. You want to own the males, sure, but try to actually take a comic and promote the kind of big epic sweeping story that you're after. Try that. You may discover that, hey, you have a lot more success with that. And and because that's how people buy off the pitch. They don't buy off of who's dating who. Again, unless you're making a slice of life type comic, that's how they're going to come in. Anyway, that's my opinion. Anyway, good question. Thank you very much. I agree. I wish they would do that. And it's a shame that we have some great comics that are basically dying for publicity. And the best they get is, the Terry McGinnis is half Asian stuff for White Knight. If you look at White Knight 3, I mean, hell, you've got Batman's married to Harley Quinn. How did that happen? You've got incredible stuff going on in that comic. And the thing they're going to run with is Terry McGinnis is half Asian. Like, what? It has nothing to do with the story, but all right. All good. Thanks for listening.